What's going on, Jax Sauce? Eric back finally for 2024, the first beer review of the year. We wanted to take a little time off after the advent calendar, the beer advent calendar. Didn't expect to take 2 months, but that's just kind of how it happened. But I'm back. I want to do these. I'm very excited about it. Really excited to try some new beers, share them with you, and then make this part of the hopefully weekly Jax Sauce routine. Now, just because we haven't been doing the Jax Sauce Co beer review doesn't mean Jax Sauce Co hasn't been busy. It's been a really exciting start of the year. A lot of cool things happening, very fruitful conversations. Business-wise, we are advancing. We are finalizing a lot of things and making things official. We are going to become very accessible very soon. Just a lot going on. I can't spill all the beans just yet because we do have to kind of dot the I's, cross the T's, all this kind of stuff. But I'm excited what this brings. So that does mean definitely keep following. If you don't follow, like, subscribe to whatever you're watching this on. This is going to be a really cool few months, and I'm really excited to bring the brand to more people. All right, but this is a beer review. So let's get into it, not a State of the Union. Let's talk beer. The first one I wanted to do this year, it's a brewery, a local brewery that I've talked about a few times now and said I wanted to kind of do just like a solo review on them. So I grabbed a couple of their beers. They are, unique is a loose term. It's not a strong enough word for the stuff that they produce. They produce delicious beers. They really do. But it's just out there stuff, man. We are going to be doing a couple beers here from quickly becoming one of my favorite Chicago breweries. We're doing Dutchbag Brewing Company. We are going to be doing their Everyday Sheeple and their Plum Zoo. All right, these are going to be fun. I think we're going to go ahead and start with this Plum Zoo. First, though, Dutchbag. So, small production. They're still hand delivering. You email them to set up, if you want to start carrying their stuff. They're very hands-on still. They started brewing beer back in 2015. Home brewers in a garage, 2021. They moved in with another crazy brewery, which we've talked about, Dunnier, on the South Loop, south side of Chicago, and their brewery. Dunnier does a lot of the wine and beer hybrids that I've just fallen in love with. So it really works that these two are working in the same brewing facility and coming up with some crazy concoctions. Dutchbag themselves, there are rumors circulating. It was in 2023, now obviously 2024, that there will be a Dutchbag. I keep calling them Douchebag. It's Dutchbag. I know. Dutchbag, they're going to have their own brewery soon. Very excited to see what they do with that. All right, so Dutchbag. First off, what is a Dutchbag? I finally had to look it up. Why did they name their brewery Dutchbag? Well, Dutchbag is a bag back in the old country, if you will, in Holland or whatever. They would carry their Dutch oven around in a very sturdy bag. They would go from house to house. Not everybody had this particular Dutch oven like pretty much anybody does now. Very different times, obviously, back then. So people that did have one would have their Dutch bag that they would carry their Dutch oven in. They could bring it to friends and families' houses to cook for them. And it really kind of, to them, what I read is it's a sense of community. And it really is. When you cook for someone, if you go to someone, like if I do a catering job or something, I go into their house, it's helped building their community. It's also building the Jax Sauce Co community, making new friends, having good times. That's what it's all about, and that's what Dutchbag is all about. Trying to nail down their style. So they do say they do traditional Nordic and Dutch styles, which they do. They have pilsners, they have lagers, they have porters. They also call themselves farmhouse, and that's a great kind of umbrella term, because you really can't nail down what style of beers these are. Some of them are like Gozas, some are Berliner style, some have that Saison feel, the sour feel, but none of them, you can't really categorize these because they're just so out there. This one in particular, Plum Zoo, I'm very excited to try. I love Michigan plums, and those are in here. Combining several fun ingredients, including yuzu and plums. I'm going to just read this right off of here, because when you hear the list of ingredients that they use in one beer, it's pretty fascinating. All right, so let's get to it. The rest of them brewed with barley, wheat oats. Of course, we talked about oats, how it adds viscosity and that thickness to the beer, gives it a great texture. Himalayan sea salt, we all know. Coriander is a baker's dream, and it's a brewer's dream, really. It's got a bright, citrusy note, kind of a spiciness, a subtle spiciness that I think goes great with hops. Dried elderflower, which is kind of a sweeter style, kind of like light and floral. Yuzu juice from Yuzu Co. I can appreciate Yuzu Co, Jax Sauce Co, Yuzu Co, wavelength. But yuzu juice, if you don't know, is a kind of a yellowish citrus fruit, right? It's originated in China, but it's really cultivated in Japan and Korea. Very tart, lots of acidity. This is not something you want to bite into on its own. It's great for mixing into things, and you see it in all sorts of sauces to bring bright acidity, drinks, beer. It works great in beer, but it really brings a bright acidity, just not something you want on your own. And that's great because you have that tartness, and then this is going to be mixed with those Michigan plums, which are going to be nice and sweet. And they're coming from McClug Farms, which is in St. Joseph, Michigan, right along that western border, right on Lake Michigan. St. Joseph's, it's a beautiful town, and that whole area has become like a Midwesterner's weekend getaway, paradise. And St. Joseph is right at the top of there, and it's a really, really pretty town. So it's going to have sweet, it's going to have citrus fruits to it, it's going to have some viscosity, some nice, it's a double goza is what they're calling it, so it's going to have a little bit of tartness to it, floral components. If you can't tell, like I said, you can't really nail this down because they have a lot going on. So let's go ahead and pour that into a glass. I almost just completely missed. Yeah, we'll pour a little more in there. Let's take a look. All right. Very light in color. I was expecting a little bit more kind of thickness. I mean, it had a cloudy, hazy note to it. Beautiful. Great effervescence to it. Ooh, that nose. So there's definitely that sourness, acidic citrus. The yuzu is strong on this, on the nose. The coriander actually comes through. Other herbaceous notes to it as well. But definitely you're getting citrus. You're getting a little bit of that coriander, kind of like an herby kind of quality. Ooh, there's the plum. There's the tart. Yuzu kicking in. Oh man, that's good though. Holy cow. Hit right away. Not necessarily there is a sweetness, but it's not like a super sweet, it's a fruitiness. Lots of fruity esters to it. A little bit of sweetness, natural sugar from the plum. Balanced right away, you get a little bit of spice. You get the salt. Actually, there's a salinity. It's real nice. Texturally, it does coat your mouth. The wheat oats are really working. And then that bitterness at the end. Satisfying bitterness, as we've talked about before. Awesome, complex beer. Lots of levels of flavor. I am salivating. Whew, I should have probably brought some water between these two. We're just going to dive right in. Now this one, mind-blowingly crazy. I had to actually Google an ingredient on this, and I really do. I know a lot of ingredients people cook with and their history. I'm a nerd like that. There's one thing in here I've never heard of. This is their Everyday Sheeple. We're going to go to the side of the can again. Dutchbag Everyday Sheeple, and we're going to talk about this. This is a Nordic sour with Earl Grey, dried sea buckthorn. I didn't have a clue what buckthorn was. Buckthorn. And local buckwheat honey. All right. So what do they say here? Blah, blah, blah. They got some fun other stuff that they put on here. They have great, how about the can art too? They do a great job, and their little stories on the side are fantastic, but I want to get to the ingredients. All right, so this is done with pale malt, wheat, and oat. Wheat and oat in there, fermented on a farmhouse yeast. I wonder where they get it from. Flavored with Earl Grey tea. So Earl Grey tea, we all know, is a very bold black tea. There are citrusy notes to this as well, so that plays great with, beer and whatnot. They're going to have, it's brewed with the buckthorn berries. I missed that. This is a hard one to read, just the coloration. It's tiny print, and I am getting old. Maybe it's time to get the eyes checked. But so the buckthorn berries. That's the one that was confusing me, that I actually had to Google. Maybe some of you might have heard of this, but I never had. So a sea buckthorn berry. To me, it looks like a small gooseberry, that bright orange. It's about the size of a cranberry. When you Google the taste, I wanted to know the flavor profile. The first thing that came up, it's something you have to try. That's what it said. That was their description of the flavor. That blew my mind. I didn't know if that was a good thing necessarily, but somewhere else I read it does kind of have like a lemon-orange hybrid thing, so the sweet and sour thing going on, which would make sense. Just looking at the berry, it looks like it would be a tart berry. They are grown in mostly colder climates. Nordic climates in Europe, so hence, I'm sure it's in Holland, Norway. Well, this is a Nord style sour, so obviously it's a northern European berry, but it's also grown throughout China and Canada and Russia, Mongolia, so colder weather, mountainous areas, if you will. Very, very cool. Maybe someday I'll find one and actually get to try it and experience it like it says it's supposed to. They are rumored to have medicinal qualities to them, anti-aging and immune boosting qualities to these berries. So you can actually find this stuff, the extract or whatnot, and the gummies and stuff that everybody takes. I take my vitamins. I'm a good boy. I take my vitamins, say my prayers, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I'm fascinated by this thing. So that mixed with Earl Grey. So you have the citrus and the bold herbal qualities of Earl Grey. You have the sweet and tart going on here with that. And then it's re-fermented on buckwheat, local Chicago buckwheat honey. So re-fermentation or bottle conditioning, we've talked about this before. It's usually where you take a flat beer, put it in a bottle, add a little sugar, close it up, and that's how you create the carbonation. You re-ferment it, if you will. So I would imagine, seeing that this is all canned, I don't think they have bottles, that they're taking a fermenting vessel, layering it with the buckwheat honey, taking the flat version of this beer, what they brew with the buckthorn, the sea buckthorn, and the Earl Grey, putting that on top, closing the fermentation, probably steel cask, and just letting it go. So that's going to add a little bit of sweetness, which I think this beer is going to need with the tart and the herbaceous notes. So let's take a look. That is all, by the way, just coming out of nowhere. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, Dutchbag, did I screw it? Time out. I broke it. I got to get a new one. Time out. It just can't go easy ever. Never goes the way I want it to. That's right. Luckily they come in 4-packs. So let's get into this thing. Let's open this properly. See, you hear that? Act like you've been here before, Jansen. All right, let's get this into a glass. Once again, very pale in color. Don't know what I'm doing here. Very pale in color. I'll put a little more in there. Not a lot of head to it. Bubbles are there. The effervescence it's definitely not as carbonated as the Plumzu, the first one that we tried, but very similar in color. Even more light, like just very pale and very, very cloudy. Woo. I'm assuming that nose must be the sea buckthorn. Very bright nose. You can tell this is going to have some tartness to it. But there are herbaceous notes a little bit, and hints of the honey kind of come through. That buckwheat honey is a very floral type of honey. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's good. Oh, Dutchbag. Put more in the glass. That is fantastic, man. Definitely not a sour beer at all. Tart components, bright citrus components, green herbal notes from the tea. It's a very bold flavor. Balanced so well, which I can only assume is the subtleness of the sea thornberry, whatever I'm drinking, has a sweetness to it, and that's from the re-fermentation with the honey. I could see re-fermenting on honey being not always the best idea if it's mishandled, but these guys, man, when you know, there's certain things you put in a craftsman's hand. You know, this is art in a glass right here. What they did with this, I am blown away. That's how much I like this beer. Everybody in Chicago that's into craft beers, sours, just wait for me to go out and get some more before you get it, but go find your local bottle shop and get this everyday sheeple. Dutchbag, you truly, I'm speechless. That's how good this is. So bright. The tartness is so well controlled. The subtle notes. And then there's grain at the end. A beautiful kind of like unfiltered graininess. Like it's a really rustic. It brings a rustic component to this beer. It's so well crafted. And at the end, you get this grain that just gives it a rustic feel. That's really, really cool. All right. As you know, on the beer review, we like to just destroy everything that we try and pour it together to give it a shot and see if we can come up with something new. This is the combination of Dutchbag Brewery's Plum Zoo, and of course, as I was going on about it, the Everyday Sheeple. This is unbelievable. I have a feeling this is going to be a rough one, but cheers. Lots of acid. Really not that bad. It's not that bad. It's just so much acid. Guys, that's just for fun. In all seriousness, check out Dutchbag Brewing. Guys, you need your own brewery. You need to bring this to so many more people. Well done.